magnificent warriors of the unseen realm, sovereign architects of your own spirit, welcome into this crucible of revelation where silence trembles beneath the weight of power you have yet to know. Tonight you stand at the threshold of what you were meant to become. Tonight you are invited into the secret chamber where your voice becomes thunder, your presence becomes gravity, where unspoken rule and quiet domain bow before your coming. You may not yet see the full measure of what you carry deep in the marrow of your bones, but believe me, the shards of greatness are embedded in your breath, in your posture, in the cadence of your heart. You speak a language of power you've never been taught, and it silences rooms. How do you know this? Because something within you has already answered before you ever asked the question, and it is time to listen. In the dawning moments of awareness, you will recognize that your power is not borrowed from books or borrowed from praise. It is not something you were handed, nor something you found by mimicking others. No, it is an original script written in your blood, coded in your scars, pulsing in the quiet places where you believed you were broken. Every crack inside you is a cipher to that language of power. Every wound you carried in shame becomes the lexicon you never learned, yet you speak. When you walk into a room, your feet whisper of battles you thought were lost, but you rose anyway. When your eyes lock on another's, your silence says more than the loudest shout. This language of power is the weight of your survival, the tension of your patience, the vow you made to keep living after every undoing. You did not need permission to feel this power, though for a time you were told small things. You were told to soften your tone, to humble your voice, to let someone else speak first. You were taught that greatness is polite, greatness is waiting at the door, greatness is small in its demands. But the power you speak is a different species. It does not negotiate with fear. It does not curtsy to doubt. It thrusts elegantly into the center of attention. It rests in moments when everyone else is leaning away. It thrives when all else is dying. This is not arrogance, this is truth. And truth does not apologize. Imagine standing at a podium or facing a crowd or entering a space where your name is new, your story untold. The gravest misconception is that you must roar or imitate someone else's thunder. But the purest power is in the unforced voice, in the unwavering eye, in the quiet hand that does not tremble though the world shakes. You do not need to shout to be heard. Your steady breath, your unclenched jaw, the way you carry your spine, these are the feral syllables, these are the heavy consonants and vowels of that language. The room grows still, not because you demanded silence, but because your being demands attention. You wonder how you know this. How do you trust this stirring inside you when every outside teaching insisted you were unworthy, powerless, less than whole? The answer lives in your history. It lives in defeats that you survived, in nights you thought you'd break, in mornings you rose despite the bone fatigue, in every "why me" you whispered, and still breathing was the answer. That persistence is your grammar. Your persistence defines the measure of your power. Each time you failed or were dismissed, yet returned to stand, you wrote new syntax. You refined your accent. Every scar is a lesson in rhythm. Every rejection a punctuation with meaning. We think we speak power when we are loud. We think we speak power when we repeat the brash phrases of others. But the language of power you hold is deeper than volume. It is the silence that rings after you leave the stage. It is the weight of memories in people's hearts when your eyes said what your lips did not. It is the kind of presence that changes the air, that shifts the light, that reassigns a space to someone who never asked. That is the power you were never taught, but which you wield whether or not you realize. You will rise to know it first when you stand alone, when no one else is watching, when no applause is offered, when there is no mirror to reflect how far you've come. In that loneliness, you will hear the pure dialogue between who you are and who you must become. In that solitude, your spine will align with your destiny. In that space, you'll learn your inner voice. You'll hear tones you never knew. You'll speak syntax of your own design. And in doing so, you build not only strength, but inevitability. Power is not given. Power is claimed. Not with anger necessarily, but with conviction. Not with rage, but with unshakable decision. You claim it with each choice that says you will not settle anymore. You claim it when you stop shrinking to fit into shadows that were never yours to wear. You claim it when you refuse the quiet lie that your dreams are too big, that your voice is too raw. You claim it when you step forward, though knees are trembling, that your heart is pounding at every thought. That is how you know this language, because longing to speak it is already speaking it. The world is waiting for you to remember, waiting for you to stop apologizing for your truth, waiting for you to understand that your trembling is not defect, but pulsar rhythm, that your doubts are not your cage, but chords in the song, that every part of you that trembled under shame, that recoiled under judgment, that bowed under expectation, they are the letters you should have been taught. You were born with them. You carried dialects of triumph and dialects of tragedy. Your accent in this language of power is unique. No one else will ever voice it exactly the way you do. And that is your edge. So be present in fullness. Hold your chest up. Let your chin tilt just enough that your throat releases your voice without fear. Let your eyes speak first. Let your silence be the introduction. When you walk into a place, let your steps be deliberate. Let your hands uncoil. Let your posture say, "This body was not crafted for apology." Let your voice tremble only if it is honest. Let the cadence of your speech flow not from memorized text, but from memory of survival. Let your words rise out of marrow, not mimicry. You will meet resistance. You will meet people who have never heard such stillness that commands attention. You will meet rooms that try to swallow your presence, that try to distract, that try to undervalue the weight of what you carry, but let them. Because every attempt to diminish you is fuel. Every scorn is iodine on the wound that becomes luminous. Every sneer is mirror glass that reflects to you what you will become. This language of power you speak silences rooms because it refuses to bow. It refuses to soften its edges for comfort. It refuses to become low for safety. It demands space. It stakes claim in air. You are learning and always will learn. That doesn't mean weakness. That means growth. That every time you feel unsure, you are also growing stronger. That every moment of vulnerability is translation work, returning what was hidden into what is known. That every day you wake, you carry more vocabulary of power, more confidence, more resonance, more capacity to fill rooms, more capacity to carry silence. As you walk from this place toward your dawn, hear this. You do not have to perform to be worthy. You do not need someone's permission to claim your sound. You do not require their approval to live your truth. What others think of you is not your burden. What you think of yourself is the first ground of influence, and that ground is sacred. Cultivate it, nourish it, feed it with memory of your survival, with recognition of your daring, with acceptance of your scars as textures of your power. When you stand in front of reflection, look deeper than your face. Search for the fractures you bandaged. Search for the nights you endured. Search for the moments you chose faith over comfort. In doing so, you will remember who you always were. And in that remembering, you will see that you have always spoken this language. Make no mistake, silence will try to return. Doubt will whisper. Fear will tug at the hems of your resolve. Criticism will slither to your ears. But power that silences rooms does not wait for permission. It stands firm in the tremor. It rises even when the breath shakes. It stills storms inside and says, I am here. This body is mine. This voice is mine. This story is mine. You speak a language of power you've never been taught. And it silences rooms because power is the weight of your truth. And your truth cannot be erased. It grows. It echoes. It becomes gravity. People sense it even before they understand it. They feel the hush before the proof. They know something is different when you enter. They may not know exactly what, but they know that the air shifts. And so, carry this with you. Every breath is a syllable in your power language. Every heartbeat is a drum. Every scar is a letter. Every choice to stand rather than surrender is a sentence. You are already authoring a lexicon generations will read. You are composing an anthem in the silent spaces. You are weaving a tapestry of presence so thick, even shadows cannot pass through you without being drawn into your light. Now you know, because nothing else could explain how rooms fall quiet when you arrive. You know because your silence speaks louder than any claim. You know because your trembling voice carries more weight than borrowed loudness. You know because your absence left emptiness and your presence floods it. You know because that longing in your chest could not be satisfied with smallness. You know because you are here. And here is where the power awakens. Here is where the world must respect the language you already speak. So, stand now. Let power settle in your bones. Let that unschooled language rise. Let it silence rooms. Let it be feared, not because you demand fear, but because your truth cannot be ignored. Let it be known not through noise, but through presence. Let your being be the proclamation. Let your silence be the echo that lingers. Let your voice be the moment when all things know you are real. You speak a language of power you've never been taught, and it silences rooms. Know this. Live this. Become this. And now that you know, you can never return to unknowing. The seed has split. The silence inside you has echoed back and revealed itself as a voice that was never lost, only waiting. You've now crossed into a threshold that many never reach, because most are taught to speak in the voices of others, to repeat what is approved, to hide behind layers of safety and imitation. But not you, not anymore. Because once you've recognized that you speak without being taught, that your very essence commands attention, then every moment becomes a stage. Every silence becomes your canvas. Every breath becomes a declaration. This is no ordinary awareness. This is a reckoning, a confrontation with everything that once convinced you to dim yourself. And in that confrontation, something shatters, quietly, powerfully, irreversibly. It's the false version of you that breaks. It's the illusion that says you're not enough. It's the learned helplessness handed down through generations of fear and false humility. And when that shell falls away, the original you emerges. Not a new you, but the ancient one, the real one, the one that's been whispering beneath your skin since your first breath. Understand this clearly. Your power is not about dominance or ego or seeking to overshadow. It is not about being the loudest in the room, the sharpest, or the most visible. Real power is what remains when all performance falls away. It's what stays when your image crumbles and your titles fade. It's what speaks when you say nothing. That is why your presence silences rooms. Because it's not you trying to be heard. It's truth being recognized. And truth has no rival. People feel it even if they can't explain it. They glance at you and look twice. They pause mid-sentence. They feel uneasy or safe or reverent, and they don't even know why. That is the unspoken grammar of power. It's not a spell you cast. It's the reality you radiate. That's why no one could teach it to you. Because it was never theirs to teach. It was born in your blood, formed in your trials. It came to life every time you chose courage over comfort. Every time you acted with integrity when no one saw. You have been speaking it in action. In survival, in persistence. You see, the real language of power is fluency in the unseen. It's how you hold your ground when someone tries to shake it. It's how you remain centered when others crumble in panic. It's how your quiet gaze carries more weight than someone else's entire monologue. It's how people feel the command in your stillness, the confidence in your restraint, the force behind your kindness. And that's why they pause. That's why the room goes quiet. Because there's something about you that cannot be bought or broken. Even in your most uncertain moments, this language is present. Even when you doubt yourself, when your voice trembles, when your knees shake, you're still speaking it. Because authenticity is part of the dialect. And courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving anyway. That movement, even in uncertainty, is a declaration of power. That's what the room hears before a word ever leaves your lips. The world does not need more noise. It needs presence. The kind of presence that doesn't have to fight for attention because attention finds it. The kind of presence that brings people home to their own truths, just by standing firm in yours. And that's what you carry. That's what you've always carried. This isn't about becoming powerful. It's about realizing that you already are, that you already have been, that what you once called quietness was really calibration. What you once called hesitation was refinement. What you once called fear was the final veil before revelation. And now, that veil is gone. What happens next is entirely up to you. Because the moment you know this truth, it becomes your responsibility. Power is not only to be held, it is to be lived, shared, respected, refined. You now walk with a different kind of gravity. You no longer need to prove yourself. You are no longer here to perform. You are here to shift spaces by being fully who you are. And that alone is a radical act of power. And yes, people will misunderstand. They will question your quiet confidence. They will try to pull you back into the familiar comfort of who you used to be. But the old version of you no longer fits. Not because you hate it, but because you've outgrown it. That old voice that once begged to be heard has matured into a presence that cannot be ignored. You don't need to fight to lead. You don't need to shout to teach. You don't need to explain to validate. You don't need to convince anyone of anything anymore. Your presence is its own message. Your walk is your declaration. Your breath is your anthem. You speak a language of power you've never been taught, and it silences rooms not because others fear you, but because they feel themselves in you. They hear echoes of their own unspoken voice in the resonance of yours. You become a mirror they didn't expect. You become an invitation to rise. That is your impact. That is your gift. And that is your burden. Because this kind of power is not for self-glorification. It's for transformation. And the first life it must transform is yours. You must live as if you are already the version of yourself you were born to be. You must speak as if your voice has always mattered. You must walk as if every step is sacred. You must decide daily to carry yourself not in fear, but in fullness. It won't be easy. It won't be perfect. But it will be real. And that's more powerful than perfection. So go ahead. Silence the room. Not by force, not by threat, not by performance, but by being exactly who you are, exactly as you are, without apology, without reduction, without doubt. Let the world adjust to your presence. Let the air shift when you speak. Let the silence be your witness. Let your existence be your message. You speak a language of power you've never been taught, and it silences rooms. Because it was never about being louder. It was always about being truer. And now the question that started all of this, how do you know this? You know? Because you always have. You just needed someone to remind you. And now that you remember, never forget again. And as the weight of that truth settles deep into your chest, let this next breath you take be different. Let it be a vow. A silent contract between the version of you that once needed permission and the version of you that no longer waits for it. Let it be the beginning of your becoming, unshakable, undeniable, unwavering. Because now you are aware. Now you carry the key, not just to open doors, but to walk through walls that were never meant to contain you. You speak a language that has no written alphabet, no formal study, no school that teaches it, because it lives beneath the skin of experience. It is carved from memory and polished by pain. And more than that, it is guided by something deeper than words, something timeless, an energy, a current, a presence. You've felt it before. In moments when you stood up and didn't know why, in moments when you defended yourself before you knew how, in moments when something ancient in your soul said, "No more." Those were the first syllables. That was the voice before the voice. That was the power rising, wordless but undeniable. And now it's not rising anymore. It's here, in you, permanent. What comes next is not an act, not a performance, not a mask. What comes next is the embodiment of that power. Because rooms don't fall quiet by accident. They don't hush out of coincidence. They pause because something walks in that redefines the dynamic. They pause because energy recognizes energy, and truth makes noise without making sound. Understand this. The most powerful people on earth do not chase attention. They attract stillness. They do not force their way in. They become the center of gravity. They do not manipulate fear. They command respect, simply by showing up as they truly are. They aren't the loudest. They are the most aligned. That is what you are becoming. That is what you already are. And once you learn to trust this, truly trust it, not only will you speak differently, you'll listen differently. You'll hear the quiet lies that others still believe about themselves. You'll recognize the trembling in their voice, the hesitation in their eyes, the masks they haven't taken off yet. Not so you can judge, but so you can lead, not to elevate yourself above, but to walk beside them in a way that lifts. Because real power doesn't isolate. It includes, it heals, it inspires others to rise, not bow. So you will walk into rooms and you will feel the weight shift. You will speak and watch the atmosphere bend. You will say very little but mean everything. And those around you will feel it, even if they don't understand it, but even if they can't name it. That's the thing about true presence. It's not explainable. It's undeniable. And still, even now, your mind might whisper, "But what if I'm not ready?" You are? But what if I still feel afraid? Fear is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you are on the edge of growth. You can bring it with you, but it doesn't get to lead. But what if they don't get me? They're not supposed to. You weren't made to be understood by everyone. You were made to become so aligned with yourself that you don't need to be. Remember, those who silence rooms are never the ones who try to. They simply embody a frequency that demands listening. You're not here to shout over noise.